We are in the fourth part of the biomechanics of the elbow complex, continuation of the third part. Uh, the posterior part of the medial collateral ligament is not as distinct as the anterior part, and sometimes its fibers blend with the fibers from the medial portion of the joint capsule. The posterior portion of the medial collateral ligament extends from the posterior aspect of the medial epicondyle of the humerus to attach to the ulnar coronoid and olecranon process. The posterior medial collateral ligament limits elbow extension but plays a less significant role than the anterior medial collateral ligament in providing valgus stability for the elbow joint. Now coming to the in a summary, if importance of functional importance of medial collateral ligament has 4 points. First point, it stabilizes the elbow joint against valgus torques. The medial collateral ligament stabilizes the elbow joint against valgus torques, limits extension at the end of the elbow extension range of motion, limits the extension at the end of the elbow extension range of motion, guides joint motion throughout flexion range of motion, provides some resistance to longitudinal distraction of joint surfaces. In the elbow joint, longitudinal distraction means that if somebody is carrying a bucket of water, or someone else is pulling your, if you with you're holding a hand of another person and he's pulling your hand, so there may be a longitudinal distraction. Or the same way, if you are holding a bucket of water or any weight downward, the gravity pulls the ulna and radius and the humerus downward. This is called as the longitudinal distraction. Here the ulna and radius may be. So here when you are talking about medial collateral ligament, it gives a counteraction for the longitudinal distraction of the ulna from the humeral articular surface. Now going to the lateral, that is a radial collateral ligamentous complex. The lateral collateral ligamentous complex includes the lateral collateral ligament, the lateral ulnar collateral ligament, and the annular ligament. The three ligaments, the lateral collateral ligament, the lateral ulnar collateral ligament, and the annular ligament, together forms the lateral collateral ligamentous complex. The lateral collateral ligamentous complex is a fan-shaped structure. Especially we are now the whole thing looks like a fan shape structure, but the lateral collateral ligament has a distinctive fan shape structure that extends from the inferior aspect of the lateral epicondyle of the humerus to attach to the annular ligament. You already know, we have discussed that annular ligament is a ligament which encircles the head of the radius, and to the olecranon process. So it has two attachment. One is to the annular ligament, and then to another one to the olecranon process. Ligamentous tissue extending from the lateral epicondyle to the lateral aspect of the ulnar and the annular ligament is referred as lateral ulnar collateral ligament. There is a ligamentous tissue which is extending from the lateral epicondyle, same as the origin of the lateral collateral ligament, but here it goes and attaches to the lateral aspect of the ulnar and the annular ligament. The other area, the attachment is to the olecranon process and to the annular ligament of the head of the uh, radius. So both there is attachment to radius as well as to the ulna. So that is the importance here. The lateral collateral ligament has an attachment both to radius as well as to the ulna. So the lateral ulnar collateral ligament adheres closely to the supinator, extensor, and anconeus muscles and lies just posterior to the lateral collateral ligament. Here you can see the view in the of the what I have been talking about is a lateral collateral ligament. Here you can see that this is a lateral epicondyle. The lateral collateral ligament is what you can see when I am showing my putting my cursor, and this is going and attaching to the the annular ligament, which is the head of the radius will attach to the head of the radius, and then also to the radius, and then to the some part attaching to the olecranon process. Then here you can see that the lateral ulnar collateral ligament is coming and attaching to the lateral part of the ulna. Here it is to the attachment to the radius and the ulnar ligament, and also here it is to the ulna, lateral ulnar collateral ligament, and this one is the annular ligament. You can see there is another minor ligament. They have not given more importance. That is the accessory collateral ligament, but and this is what you can see here in the lateral view. The earlier figure you already seen that how we, and here you can I can want to tell you that one more thing is in the lateral view what you are now seeing is actually radius should be in this side, but now this figure is shown in a when the elbow is the hand is pronated. Functional lateral collateral ligamentous complex. So importance, as we have already discussed about the importance of the medial collateral ligamentous complex. Now in 4 points we have already discussed the other ligament. Now here lateral collateral ligament complex, 7 important functions are there. Number 1, stabilizes the elbow joint against varus torques. The medial collateral ligament was against the valgus torque. Here lateral collateral ligamentous complex is against a varus torque. Second point, stabilizes against combined varus and supination torque. So combination of varus and the supination torque, it's stabilizing against the varus and supination torque. Third, reinforces humeroradial joint and assists in providing some resistance to the longitudinal distraction of the articular. Earlier, in the last medial collateral ligament, also I had talked about the longitudinal distraction. Here it is also providing a resistance to both the radius and ulnar longitudinal distraction. Stabilizes radial head, thus providing the annular ligament is there, so the ligament is part of the ligamentous complex, lateral collateral LCL complex. So it stabilizes the annular ligaments along with the LCL complex, thus stabilizes the radial head, thus providing a stable base for rotation. LCL complex maintains posterolateral rotatory stability. The LCL complex prevents subluxation. Any joint, the function of the ligament is to prevent dislocation or subluxation. So here also the ligament LCL complex prevents subluxation of humero-ulnar joint by securing ulna to humerus. Seventh point, last point is prevents the LCL complex prevents forearm from rotating of the humerus in valgus and supination during flexion from fully extended position. Now we are going to the muscles of the elbow joint. There are 9 muscles which are crossing the anterior aspect of the elbow joint, but out of the 9 only 3 are the muscles which are primary function of the over the elbow joint, which are brachialis, biceps brachii and brachioradialis. The other 2 muscles which has function in the radio-ulnar joints are supinator teres and pronator teres, which are the major function of the radio-ulnar joints. The remaining 4 muscles of the 9 total muscles are acting on the major function of the wrist, hand and the fingers, which are namely flexor carpi radialis, flexor carpi ulnaris, flexor digitorum superficialis and palmaris longus. Okay. So these muscles are primarily functioning at the wrist, hand and fingers, but they are also considered as weak flexors of the elbow joint. The brachialis muscle arises from the anterior surface of the lower portion of the humeral shaft and attaches by a thick broad tendon to the ulnar tuberosity and coronoid process. The biceps brachii arises from 2 heads, one short and the other long. The short head arises as a thick flat tendon from the coracoid process of scapula, and the long head arises as a long narrow tendon from the scapula's supraglenoid tubercle. The muscle fibers arising from the 2 tendons unite in the middle of the upper arm to form the prominent muscle bulk of the upper arm. Muscle fibers from both heads insert by way of the strong flattened tendon on the rough posterior area of the tuberosity of the radius. Now we have here, what we have here is the anterior and the posterior view of the right arm, and here you can see the muscles such as pronator teres, flexor carpi radialis, palmaris longus, flexor carpi ulnaris, flexor digitorum superficialis, which all are traveling downward and then passing through the flexor retinaculum, which you can see here, and then entering the hand, and which is what we call as the extrinsic muscles of the hand, part of the extrinsic muscles of the hand. In the posterior view, you can see the lateral epicondyle, and the lateral epicondyle, here the muscles are the extensor carpi radialis longus, extensor carpi ulnaris, extensor carpi radialis brevis, extensor digitorum communis, which you call EDC, extensor digitae minime, and again it passes through the retinaculum, which is the extensor retinaculum. The lateral epicondyle otherwise also have the muscles which are here been shown, which are we already discussed about the angonius and the supinator. The brachioradialis muscle arises from the lateral supracondylar ridge of the humerus and inserts into the distal end of the radius just proximal to the radial styloid process. The two extensors of the elbows are triceps and angonius. The triceps has three heads, medial, long, medial and lateral. The long head crosses both the glenohumeral joint at the shoulder as well as the elbow joint. The long head arises from the infraglenotubercle of scapula by a flattened tendon that blends with the glenohumeral joint capsule. The medial and lateral heads cross only the elbow joint. The middle head covers an extensive area as it arises from the entire posterior surface of the humerus. In contrast, the lateral head arises from only a narrow ridge on the posterior humeral surface. The three heads insert via a common tendon into the olecranon process. The anconeus is a small triangular muscle that arises from the posterior surface of the lateral epicondyle of the humerus and extends medially to attach to the lateral aspect of the olecranon process and the adjacent proximal quarter of the posterior surface of the ulna. Now, we have discussed about the extensor major muscle. One is the largest muscle of the posterior part of the arm, that is the triceps. And regarding the three heads, and the major area is covered by the lateral head, the medial head, and then been attached to the olecranon process, and then the anconeus. And now, in addition to the anconeus muscle, a number of extensor tendons are passing through the elbow joints of, and they also have the same role as we have discussed about the they also are having a role in the wrist, hand and fingers, but in a extension of the wrist and then a hand and the uh, fingers of the hand. The muscles are namely extensors of the hand, wrist and the fingers are extensor carpi radialis longus, extensor carpi radialis brevis, extensor digitorum communis, which is the important and the most functionally active extensor muscle of the fingers, and then the extensor carpi ulnaris and the extensor digitae minime. You all know, we will discuss that also later in the how the muscles, even though they are from the same origin, are the tendons, but the attachment are differing, and according to the attachment and to the physical orientation of presence of the tendon, the biomechanical functions of the these muscles act. But we are not, we will be studying those importance of the biomechanics of these muscles mainly in the next chapter, which is in the wrist hand complex, which is a one of the most important chapters. So I think here we'll stop for this part, and we will continue on the next part. Thank you.